Well, we're talking politics tonight with David Yepsen of the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute at SIU. And let's chat about the governor's race, and let's start with the Republicans. We saw former Governor Jim Edgar last week endorse his former chief of staff, Kirk Dillard. Game changer?
No. Big endorsements can help a candidate get some publicity, but they don't necessarily net them any votes. People tend to make up their own minds who they're going to vote for.
Edgar is, however, one of the most respected Republicans in the state, and we did see him during that endorsement kind of run there suggest that maybe they will need to raise the income tax on folks here in Illinois. Does that kind of give Dillard some cover and Republicans some cover to say, yeah, maybe this is an option?
I don't think it does. I think Republicans hate taxes, and anytime that discussion comes up, it's just a non-starter. You know, George Herbert Walker Bush raised taxes as president after he promised he wouldn't, and he lost. And that's been a formative experience for Republicans. We all know that some revenues are going to be needed in this state, but it's just not something a Republican primary electorate wants to do.
Well, then did he maybe hurt his buddy there?
Well, he does raise that question, you know, because Edgar had tax increases on his watch. And so Republicans are going to be asking Dillard, you know, what about this? Are you going to raise taxes? Where? How much?
Okay, very good. Another Republican may be getting into the race, and this is a race that's already really full of Republicans, but Jim Ryan, is there room for him in the race, and will that make a big difference?
There is room in the race. If you look at the polling of the Republican race, it is a jumble. No clear front runner, nobody's broken out of the pack, a lot of candidates, a lot of relatively unknown candidates. So a guy like Ryan could get in this thing. But that said, he's still got a bad last name in this state. And I think that you know, that hurts him.
Good point, and probably a lot of funds drying up as well.
Well, you know, there's going to be a competition among a lot of candidates for little money. Here's the one thing that goes in the favor of a candidate with a name like that. In a race that's this jumbled, name ID will count for a lot. So if you have 7 candidates, Ryan might benefit from the fact Republicans recognize his name. Or you could see Dillard as more of a moderate candidate benefit because the conservatives are splitting their votes among other candidates.
All right, very good. Well, let's go ahead and give the Democrats some play here. We saw a set of dueling ads between Comptroller Dan Hines and Governor Pat Quinn last week. Is it early for this? I mean, is it too early? Are voters going to get sick of this?
Well, no, not really. I tell you, because the primary is in February, but beginning about Thanksgiving to Christmas, it's going to be hard to punch a message through to people during the holidays. Hines is also behind, so he's got to catch up. In order to do that, he's got to start early and get his ads up now.
And those ads, they really were agreeing on things in that ad, particularly as we were talking about earlier, this tax increase.
Yeah, but I did not think that Hines' ads were that effective, that powerful. They were kind of ho-hum. I think he needs to step up his media campaign a little bit in order to punch through. He trails Pat Quinn in this race. He's got to ramp it up.
All right, David Yepsen from the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute. Thanks for being here.
Thank
and
you.
News 3 continues after this.